All right, welcome to the channel. My name is Dave. Thanks for being here. I call this the Chaos Report. And here's some chaos for you. Why do Trump supporters look the other way when Donald Trump says some things that I think really turn most of his base off? And I would say everybody who's looking at other candidates, especially Ron DeSantis, and RFK Jr. We'll throw him into the mix. He says stuff to me that you just it's goes too far. It doesn't make sense, especially if you go to a Trump rally and he talks and then people start booing. Okay, so this little audio clip I'm going to play is from a show called The Water Cooler. David Brody is the host. Let me see if this will work here.
President Trump, I want to ask you about the vaccines. You know the base, you know MAGA well. They're not happy with it. The CDC is now saying they're concerned about a link to strokes in the vaccine. We've also seen significant spikes in COVID-19 deaths after countries introduced the COVID vaccines. We have these sudden death spikes as well. Look, I know you take credit for getting the vaccines to the American people in record time. I got that. Will you acknowledge now, though, that the COVID-19 vaccines were not as safe or effective as we were told by the medical community at the time?
Well, what I did is, first of all, there were no mandates with me. And
right.
Okay, so there are no mandates with me. No mandates with me. But somehow, because of Operation Warp Speed, mandates happened. And it's your administration that set the precedent. By the way, Donald Trump, and this is true, Donald Trump gave commendations to both Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx on his way out. I think the day before he left the White House, he gave Fauci a commendation. He didn't put him in handcuffs. No, I mean, he doesn't have the power to put him in handcuffs, but he could have fired him. Instead, he gave him a commendation. All right? So let's continue with this audio. Trump always saying, no, I didn't institute mandates. And in this audio clip, he's going to take a shot at the state of Florida, which I think is remarkable. And this is why there are a group of people out there who are wondering about this man and his ability to sort of pivot, maybe change his mind, maybe repent of something. I don't know how to really put it into words, say he's sorry, do a mea culpa. All right, let's listen to this.
I had absolutely no mandates, and the governors were allowed to do what they want. Most Republican governors did the right thing, and most Democrat governors didn't, with the lockdowns and all the other things they did, including their views of the vaccine. What I did, I was able to get something approved that, has proven to save a lot of lives. Some people say I saved 100 million lives.
Some people say. Who is the some people say? Where's the study? Is there a peer-reviewed study? Are there stats that I can look at? Tangible stats. I know all-case mortality, according to the insurance industry, in the year 2021 was up 40%, which is akin to like an asteroid hitting a portion of the planet. And I'm not being hyperbolic. That is a once in a millennium kind of thing.
Worldwide. But I was able to get that done in 9 months versus 5 years to 12 years.
Okay, 9 months. So my theory on Trump is that he wanted to get this to market before the November election. So everybody would say, oh, we've got to vote for Donald Trump because he got this to market quickly. He cares about us. And hearing that this has adverse effects, we'll say it that way, does not gel with that narrative. And it's bizarre that even after the fact, I mean, he could throw all of these people under the bus. Fauci and Birx, the ones who got commendations as they were walking out or as Trump was leaving the White House, he wrote them commendations. Great job, Fauci and Birx. You guys are the best.
If it ever got I got the FDA to do things that they it was pretty amazing what we were able to do. But as far as using it, as far as the utilization, I never demanded anybody use it. I never had a mandate, and I think that's very important to know. And I never had anybody, for instance, when I said, I never said close up. I never said we're going to close our country up. A lot of Republicans, now Florida did close for a period of time, as you know.
Florida did. Oh, he's got to take the shot at DeSantis. Florida did close up for a time. I mean, most everything closed up for a time. Trump, and so Florida did a much faster pivot, and thus the economy improved quickly. There were jurisdictions. This is where I live, so I know what was going on. DeSantis was basically going up against the hospital system, going up against the media, and he hired a frontline doctor to be the Surgeon General of the state. Nobody else has done that. He's currently got a grand jury taking a look at if these drug companies ought to be held liable for the damage that this has done to people. All right, so let's finish up with Donald Trump talking with David Brody.
But a lot of states run by Republican governors didn't close at all. And that was okay with me. I let them make that decision.
What about the safety aspect? That's what people are concerned about now. Do you have some concerns about the safety of these vaccines?
Well, I always do, but you have to understand.
I always do. He used to. That's why he had RFK Jr. show up at the White House. And then after he got the $1 million, hey, Trumpers, just so you can Google this, it's pretty easy. Donald Trump received $1 million from Pfizer. $1 million for his inauguration. Well, that's chump change for Trump. Why would he change policy? Because they gave him $1 million. I mean, come on. This is, again, it's pay to play. And you're going to put the entire population of the country at risk. And by the way, is it a good thing that we rushed something to market? And he says it here, usually this takes 5 years. And what does that tell you? It's supposed to take 5 years. And this is brand new technology. You know how they said this was a novel virus? Well, this was a novel vaccine as well.
There are the pros and cons. If you could read some reports saying it was the greatest thing that's ever happened, and
you can read. I'm sorry, people. This is Donald Trump at his absolute worst, because he throws these statements out there and they're comical. Well, everybody knows that the vaccine, everybody is saying it, everybody is talking about it, and everybody knows it. Who's everybody? This isn't like a 4-year-old. Hey, Mom, everybody's doing it. Can I jump off the bridge too? No, son, you can't. Well, everybody knows that it's okay to do it. And that's how you want to make decisions? That's who you want to follow as your leader? This is ridiculous.
We saved tens of millions of lives.
We've saved tens of millions of lives. Where is the proof?
Then you'll read other reports. You'll say there was some problems with the vaccines in terms of certain things, but
there was some problems in terms of certain things. He never see. This is the mastery of Trump, and in the sense that he doesn't get specific when specificity is required. It's needed. And this is why people don't like Ron DeSantis, because he's wonky and he says all of the details. RFK Jr. On this issue, there's nobody more intelligent who's running for president on this issue than RFK Jr. And I would have to say DeSantis is kind of a distant second, but he knows enough not to say foolish things and generalities. He will be specific when it's warranted, when it's needed. All right, I think this is almost over. Thank goodness.
Relatively small numbers, but you have many reports that say the vaccine saved tens of millions of lives. That without the vaccines, you wouldn't have you would have had a thing like we had in 1917, where perhaps.
No, we wouldn't have had that because it was a different strain. It was a different kind of virus. And granted, we didn't have any sort of treatment available back then. I'm sure people were trying to throw anything at the wall to stop that. But I'm thinking that was a more aggressive strain than this is or was. All right. But he makes this claim, if we didn't get this to market, then it would have been like 1918. That's what he's saying here. He's saying some people say this and some people say that, and he doesn't quote any studies. He doesn't bring the receipts. We hear this a lot on like Steve Bannon's War Room show. We got the receipts. We got the receipts. Well, where are the receipts here? I don't hear any receipts. And for you Trumpers out there, you're just willing to just pay. I'm not, look, the document thing, you can have a different opinion on classified documents. Can the president do I Dream of Jeannie and blink his eyes and the documents are now declassified? I don't know. I've heard so many different opinions on this. The bottom line is he probably shouldn't have been flaunting any documents that had wargaming stuff on there. That to me is just like, look what I've got. You want to show off your antlers on the wall. Look what I've got over here. One shot and look at just down on the ground and now it's on my wall. Fish story, hey, look at the size of this fish. That's me and the fish. Even though it's probably photoshopped. A lot of weird photoshopped stuff going on. Campaigns accusing one another of making memes and then throwing them out there and getting people all riled up. This is going to be a difficult campaign. This is, you're not going to know truth from fiction. You're not going to know it. But here Trump is basically throwing dirt on his own political grave. But again, remember, Donald Trump said he could walk out his, whatever, the Trump Tower in New York City, pull out a gun and start shooting, or at least shoot one person, and people would still love him and want to vote for him. So this is kind of akin to that, right? It's the same thing. I think it's great. I think it saved 10 million people. And everybody says it. Everybody knows it. I don't get it. Someone needs to explain this to me about Donald Trump. And as far as the classified documents go, if they asked for them back and that would have fixed the problem, and I don't know, maybe it's just they'll continue to find, there are other things going on. There's a voter fraud case in Georgia right now, where supposedly he made a few phone calls to the governor and said, hey, I need this many votes. Why make that phone call? Why have a big, whatever you want to call it, rally on J6? Why do that? Why? You're not going to overturn the results. You're interfering with a proceeding that is constitutionally mandated. And that's why they call it an insurrection, even though it's been overblown. There's been way too much attention on it. But these are all like in tennis, these are all like unforced errors. Like you're just whacking the ball out of bounds because you're just not paying attention to where the ball should be going. And this has been the hallmark of Trump, say, after 2019, in my humble opinion. He wasn't bad for a few years. It wasn't bad. And yes, he was persecuted politically. And yes, people are upset and they have a right to be upset about this. But there are a couple of big issues here. I'm probably going to do a standalone video about why the election fraud was probably not election fraud. Do I think Joe Biden got that many votes? It's hard to imagine that he did, but I have a reason as to why Joe Biden got that many votes, and a reason why Trump didn't beat Joe Biden. He should have beaten him. I mean, if you looked at the amount of activity as far as, you know, caravans all over the country supporting Trump, down here in Florida, you go out to the ocean and there are boat parades with all the Trump signs and people just getting together, honking horns and driving around. It appears that Trump had a lot of grassroots support. I'm wondering what happened. Well, I think I have a theory which I will present in another video, but I wanted to make the point in this video that for me, this is pretty much a non-starter. This is a non-starter. You had the opportunity to fire people and hold people accountable in addition to firing them. You had RFK Jr. show up at Trump Tower for a meeting about these wonderful pharmaceutical products that we're all supposed to love and embrace. And you guys were going to have a real serious conversation, and that was going to be the truth about the situation. And then you did, and then you never asked RFK Jr. back because you got $1 million from a big drug company that helped pay for your inauguration, which you could have paid for out of your own pocket. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you could have done a video and did some fundraising for it. Hey, want to be a part of history? Help me finance my inauguration so I don't have to take $1 million from Pfizer? I don't know. Again, it makes it so you can't vote for anybody. Everybody's got a problem. DeSantis is a globalist, right? He's a deep state plant. He's just like the worst guy in the world. He's going to get us into 10 additional wars. He's a war hawk. He was one in Congress, yada, yada, yada. Even though I think that's overblown, no matter who you pivot to. RFK Jr., well, he's really a liberal. He's been a liberal his whole life, and he'll do liberal things. He won't be a culture warrior. I don't know. I think he's got some problems with some of the stuff going on. He thinks a lot of the climate change stuff is just BS and nonsense because it's exploitation. It's causing, poor countries to basically do things that they can't do, and it either depopulates those countries or makes them bankrupt. Or again, the people he made the point during COVID that the rich people got richer, and there were some people on the right who finally understood at that point and said, yeah. And then collusion between government and corporations. Who's talking about that more than anyone else? RFK Jr. Because the corporation, like if it's Target or Bud Light, they're in bed. They're in bed with the federal government. They're doing so their ESG score can be high. And so, again, they're basically on the take from the government, and the government will protect them. If they were to, if Bud Light or Target was to have to go Chapter 11, the government would bail them out, say this is unfair. These people are mean. They should embrace all of these wonderful things that these companies are doing under the guise of, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, which Ron DeSantis is really good at. He's really good on that stuff. But you know what? It's Trump. Trump, we have to support Trump because he's being persecuted, and this is a travesty, and it might be a travesty of justice. It might be. I'm thinking he should have given the documents back. He shouldn't have had a rally on J6. He should have known. See, if he's playing 3D chess, he has got to be just a 1D player, because so far I have not seen any 3D. And he's getting beat left and right in certain areas. Like, okay, the media, they want to get you, but yet you keep playing into this. Don't tell people, you know what people did? They probably got really scared to go to Miami. No, because we saw what happened on J6, and Trump is a billionaire, right? And there are people languishing in jail in DC. And then many of them have wives and children back home. All of those people, by the way, those people should be financed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump, rather than fundraising for his own legal defense, which is going to be millions and millions of dollars. I get that. He should have been fundraising for these people 2 years ago. He didn't. And some of them, I've seen interviews, I've heard interviews, they're not happy. They're like, hey, we went to this rally. We feel like we've been hung out to dry. You know, should they have gone inside the Capitol? Why would you go inside the Capitol? What point, what purpose? You're going to say it was just Ray Epps that brought everybody in there? You should have known better. They knew when they saw Ray Epps, they all pointed Fed, Fed, Fed. So why would you listen to the Fed? It just is a little mind-boggling. And yeah, that is the people's house, but you can't interfere with an official constitutional government activity like the certification of an election. You just can't do it. And I believe Scott Ritter was right on that. I don't like to admit that, but I mean, them's the facts. You know, you don't just try to interfere with that. If you want to protest, you should have protested a couple days prior to that. I'm pretty sure they did 2 rallies before J6 and they announced it. And it's like, this is the day they're going to... What kind of a message are you going to get? You get Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, out there saying, oh, you know, the election's going to get pulled down. He used those words. They're going to pull it down. I'm still not familiar with that term, Mike. Is that like when you pull the drapes down, you pull the curtains down, when you pull the pillow over your head? How are they going to pull the election down? And then Trump will be back. He'll be back in the office and probably by August. That's what we're thinking, August. How? Nobody had a plan for any of this stuff. It's like all QAnon BS. And I'm so tired of people who send me these things that are, you know, here's a UFO. It just landed in your bedroom. Here it is. I'm just like, oh, good. Another UFO. I'm so happy. And I'm not saying UFOs don't exist. I'm just saying stop with the nonsense. I do kind of want to get back to boring milquetoast politics where candidate A and candidate B, they talk about issues. They tell you what they're going to do. It isn't a circus. It isn't a show. It's not Clown World. And then people decide based on intellect. They listen. Whoever is a skilled debater, that's obviously important. But you know what? The debater isn't the issue for me. It's what they're saying. It's what they want to do for the country. Those are the real issues. And I'm tired of just watching this stuff like it's just Jerry Springer. We're going to Miami to the Jerry Springer show, the late Jerry Springer, who inspired our current state of politics. Frank Zappa smartly said, politics is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex. Pretty smart. Frank Zappa was pretty smart. The normies in the world just want to get back to life. We don't want to be involved. And I'm a normie to some degree, but I don't ignore politics. That's why I do what I do. So some days, though, it might be better for your health and your sanity to just ignore it. Ignore it and focus on it the last couple of months. It's going to be impossible to do that, though. Guaranteed. All right. So I was supposed to stop talking after David Brody and Donald Trump got through telling everybody how great the vaccines are, and they are. I mean, you should get boosted and then boosted again. I mean, those spike proteins are really good for you. I love it how they stay in your bloodstream and they do so much good for your body. I love the spike protein. Go get some spike protein right now. CVS is open and there's no waiting.